This episode of the Topcast is proudly supported by Music, beyond sheet music.
It seems to me like there's this universal, like a spectrum maybe, or a balance, or kind of a push and pull between like passion and work. And it kind of sounds to me like maybe Jeff was really too mired down in the work side of it, and he needed that passion to kind of revitalize it. And I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was so bogged down in the passion of it all that I really just needed the work to kind of perk me back up and get me going. So just recognizing that there are both, like these two elements, really, they're there and they will not be ignored.
Hey teachers, have you ever felt that sense of dread when you're about to start your next lesson, or the next lesson after that, or the next one after that, or just feeling burned out and kind of really over teaching for whatever reason, or maybe you're not even sure what the reason is? Well, today's member spotlight really shines a light on this feeling that we all have from time to time, but my guest today had it quite deeply and for a significant amount of time. But thankfully, she actually found a way out of that feeling and has now come out the other side and is thoroughly enjoying everything to do with teaching again. So it's a really exciting episode to share with you all. It gets quite personal, and Rachel, who I interviewed today, really lets you into her life and how she's feeling and what the shift was that she made and how it came about and the kind of impact that it's had on both her and her students. And we also talk, because this has been a discussion in our TopMusicPro forums, we actually bring in some of the other members' feelings about this topic that was discussed, both in support and also kind of contradicting and wondering if this is the right way to go about thinking about the job that you're doing. So I really look forward to sharing this with you. It's a great episode, and I know that many of you will get lots of value from it. And we would love to, because it's a little bit controversial, it's a little bit unusual, well, I'd love to hear your feedback about it. So there's a number of places where you can share your thoughts about this episode. One is to head to the show notes page. That's topmusic.co/episode 247. Scroll to the bottom and we'd love for you to leave comments there. Or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or your podcast player or whatever it is, just head over to our Facebook group. That's Top Music Teachers Facebook group. You can leave a comment there, or just on any social post where you see this episode being advertised. We'd love to get your feedback. Have you felt like Rachel has felt? And if so, have you been able to get out of that feeling? And what did you do to get out of it? And what do you think about what Rachel did to help herself in this situation? Oh, it's super fun, and I know you're going to get lots of value from it. So let's get started with it. Welcome to the show, Rachel King.
Oh, thank you. It's super to be here.
Now, you've been a Top Music Pro member for 3 years or thereabouts, and we recently connected in the forums. You'd kind of, I hadn't heard from you for a little while, and then you suddenly came back with a big epiphany, which I want to talk about today and unpack a little bit more. But before that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are and your teaching in your studio?
Currently, I teach 10 to 12 students. It kind of fluctuates a little bit. It's not a real big studio, but I do it all in one day and keep it that way so that I can balance my family time.
And I was just hearing before the show started that you have a large family. Amazing. So I'm not surprised that you work your students into one day. That must be a very full day, though.
It is. It can be exhausting, but it seems to work well for me and for my family. So it's good.
Fantastic. And mainly one-on-one lessons?
Yeah, one-on-one. I have done group lessons in the past, and I kind of had to make some adjustments to my studio over time, just getting overwhelmed and taking on too many great ideas and having to kind of pare it back a little bit. So I'm back to just the one-on-one. Maybe I'll expand into classes later, but for now, just one-on-one.
So tell us how you were feeling before you posted about this recent kind of epiphany in our forums. Can you take us back a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Over the course of several semesters, I started to feel a lot of burnout and just a tremendous amount of dread before each semester began. And over time, it kind of started to feel like I just had this inner spoiled brat just yelling, I don't want to set up the schedule. I don't want to do the phone calls. And it just got worse and worse every semester. And I was really puzzled because I really had worked hard to set up a good studio and I knew I was a qualified teacher. And so it was very puzzling, but it was consistently a problem and it was getting worse. And I was really super frustrated. And I was kind of tired of the students who wouldn't practice and parents who expected me to work all the magic in the lessons and wouldn't support them at home. And just, the typical inherent problems in teaching piano lessons were just really getting to me, I guess. And I was not coping with it very well, apparently.
Right. No, but we can all associate with that feeling. Perhaps not the same feeling as dread of dread, perhaps before the semester, because we want to be. This is our livelihood, but it's also our passion, and we are by our nature we are passionate people who are teaching kids what we love and have known most of our lives and things like that. So I totally understand because you've got this conflict, and I'm sure people listening are going to be going, "Yeah, I've felt this way as well, Rachel." I totally want to kind of reach out and give you a big hug to say, you know what, we understand and feel that way. And I was thinking about it and wondering, if we were I shouldn't say just a maths teacher, but let's say we taught maths or English in a school or something like that. I don't know if we would have that same sense because perhaps we wouldn't be quite as passionate about it. There's something, it seems to me, and I don't want to discredit non-music teachers out there because I've taught maths and all sorts of other things as well. But there's some inherent passion with the artistic pursuits, I think. Do you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that like music kind of fits into that, like Maslow's top of Maslow's hierarchy kind of a place, and it's really elevated and super creative. And I was just kind of, I guess I had this distorted belief that since I was so passionate about it and since I love music so much, that would just kind of help me sail over the top of all the challenges inherent in teaching piano lessons. And no matter how much I wanted that to be true, it just wasn't. There were some difficulties to slog through, and no amount of passion and shooting for satisfaction and contentment was going to get me through that with unscathed anyway.
Mm. So what happened next? What did you do? You'd felt this feeling for a number of semesters. This wasn't a one-off, I gather.
Yeah, exactly.
And so finally, what did you do?
Thought, okay, this is just, I'm having a down semester. I'm fine. We'll get through it. And then the next semester it happened again. And the next semester it happened again. And that doesn't make my husband happy at all. When I'm down about stuff, I mean, I've got a lot to take care of. So
Absolutely.
you need to kind of reconsider if you're doing the right thing right now. And so one night he just asked me, really pinpoint, what is the trouble? What is bothering you? And so I kind of just told him the whole list of things that were frustrating that I just couldn't stand to face again. Just, students who don't practice and who make a lot of excuses and all those things I'm sure we can relate to. And he let me talk until I had talked myself out. And then he just simply said, I found that when I started thinking of my career as just a job that needed to be done, I felt a lot better about it. And that ripped my breath away. It absolutely stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
Yeah. So he said in his own experience, he found that when he started thinking of his career as just a job that needed to be done, he felt a lot better about getting through all those struggles that we're feeling.
Absolutely.
Right. And so did this instantly resonate with you, or were you a bit like, no, hang on, this is different. I'm a musician here.
Right. I would have a semester or two earlier kind of disregarded that, but I was, very open to trying to figure this out because I was so perplexed. And so when he said that, I just kind of thought, I have nothing to lose and I've got to do something. This is something I haven't tried yet. And I decided on the spot, I'm adopting this. I'm trying this. This is just a job. Get off the top of Maslow's hierarchy and down in the trenches and go to work.
Right. And so how did that look in practice, or what was going on in your head day to day? What changed?
So I started with just the mantra, it's just a job. It's just a job. It's just a job. And on the day that my students were coming after this talk with my husband, I was getting dressed and I'm getting ready. And I just kept saying that over and over. It's just a job. Get your work clothes on and go to job. Get in there and go do your work. And I was just saying it over. And so when my students arrived, Like I was in work mode. I was in absolutely roll up your sleeves. Let's tackle this. We're working up a sweat. It was totally different than anything I had ever gone into piano lessons with before. It was kind of funny. If you could have heard what was going through my mind, I'm sure. But it was curious because when my students would come, and of course there was one or two who were like, "Oh, I really didn't practice this week," and usually I would just grind my teeth and just, "Oh, not again." But I just like, no, this is just part of the job. Move on. And then the next student came in and they had some wacky schedule going on that they needed some outrageous accommodations for or something, and I was like, no, this is just part of the job. Do the job.
Mm,
And it was incredible. It was just saying it over and over again as if I believed it and as if it would work.
right. And you're a little way past this now. You've been doing this for some time. So do you still find yourself saying that mantra as much, or is it kind of more embedded now?
It's a lot more embedded. The odd thing is it solved so many problems to go at it from that angle that I actually don't need it nearly so much anymore.
Right. Okay. And I want to find out what the specific outcomes are because you actually listed them in the forum post. So we'll come to those in one sec. But one other thing, did you ever kind of feel? Because I imagine there'll be some teachers listening that will be like, "No, this isn't right. This is bad. It sounds like Rachel doesn't care anymore. She's dispassionate. She's just doing it for the money." So did you ever kind of feel bad or kind of fake or something when you changed in this way?
I was so desperate to keep teaching that I didn't feel fake at all. I mean, this was a genuine plunge into the unknown to try to fix a problem. And at first, it felt a little unfamiliar, but certainly not fake. And like the positive results for me and my students were so immediate that I didn't even have time to ever even think if it was authentic or not. So no, not at all. It was exactly what I needed.
So, I mean, it really almost sounds like just a burden off your back, like a release of having to
Yep.
worry so much and
Yeah.
let yourself get down, which we all do all the time. So, well, let's talk about these specific outcomes. One of them was more about beliefs and your underlying beliefs about what you were doing.
Yeah. So I came at like from a child, I had been, taught and told that, music is just amazing and you've got this talent and you've turned it into this skill. This is amazing, 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 amazing. And you just hear that over and over and over. And kind of just without even realizing, I started to believe that I was entitled to contentment and satisfaction and all of those like supreme emotional outcomes of doing music, and instead of shooting for like scales and the hands-on in the trenches stuff, I was more focused on like kind of like my ego almost, and it was completely subconscious. I had no idea this was what was going on, but I was really shooting for my own, I don't know, sense of sense of importance maybe. I'm
Yeah.
not too say it, but it was the wrong aim. And so when I straightened out my aim to like, this is the job, this is the work, I kind of have this analogy in my head because it works so perfectly. Like if you look at stars at night, you can see all these pinpoints of light in the sky. But if you try to stare straight at a star, it kind of dims. Like you
Hmm.
can't really see it that clearly. But if you look just to the side of it, all of a sudden that pinpoint of light comes at you real clear. And I kind of feel like that's what I was doing. I was so focused on satisfaction and contentment that I wasn't able to just like get on point. And anyways, it was just, it's kind of flipped in my head. I had gone too far that
Right.
way.
Right. Really, it's a fascinating conversation. I'm really enjoying hearing this. What about your students then? Because knowing the impact, did any of them notice that there'd been a change?
If they noticed, they didn't say anything really, but I did notice some significant differences with the students themselves, in the students. They all have become more communicative in lessons.
What did verbally speaking? Speaking.
Yeah, they will tell me their opinions. They will tell me what they think. I can draw them out better because I'm just so much more focused on them. They are my work. It's not about me expounding gorgeously. It's about me finding out from them what they need. And I'm very verbal, and I can talk a lot about music because it's
Yeah.
just so, such a deep part of me. But with the students, like I've turned from them, like they are the work. It's no longer, me sharing my wisdom. It's them, me finding out what they need from them. So I'm working on them more, and they're much more communicative, and that's been super fun. But I think what just blew me away was the recital we had after I'd had this switch in my approach. They all played better. Every one of them. I mean, we put on a show. It was so satisfying and so gratifying. It was awesome. It was so fun to do that. And I think they like it. I think it's subconscious, and I don't think they realize, what's really happened until they listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
But I have seen across the board, every single one of my students are way more tuned in and way more willing to focus and way more willing to work.
It's really interesting. I mean, and it's not like they should see a difference really, because it's in your head, the change that you've
Yeah,
made. It's not like you were like, you're so out of it now that you're like, smoking a cigarette and like falling asleep during their lessons or something, like, because that could be the other approach.
yeah, exactly. You can swing too far
Yeah.
on the other spectrum.
But it's what an amazing to hear that one, they'd become more talkative. They'd given opinions more and things like that, which obviously was due to the way that you were approaching these. You were asking more questions. You were focusing more on them, which means that before that, I assume you must have given your opinions more or said this is how you should do things more. Would that be right?
Oh, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It was me passing on all my glorious wisdom to them, and that's what they were paying for. So here you go, but to take some time, to take some of that focus and just shift it into them as people. And what's really cool is that I have a lot more personal. I like them individually better. And it's not like I disliked them ever. I mean, they're all, have great personalities and little quirks, and they're great people, great kids. But for me, I mean, like there's just like a bond. There's a connection because I feel
Mm.
like because we are down in the trenches, we've rolled up our sleeves and we're like working side by side in music now. It's not like here I am up high.
Ah, I see. Yeah, yeah,
You're so lucky to have.
yeah. More the more the coach. Arm around
Yeah,
the shoulder. I'm your coach. Let's do this together, kind of approach.
absolutely. Yeah.
And look, I don't imagine the frustrating moments in reality, have probably decreased. I'm sure there's still just as many students who aren't practicing and doing whatever else might be annoying to us as teachers. Has something there changed at all?
Um, I have wondered that myself. Is this just my perception because I'm not feeling all that anxiety anymore? Is it because my students have changed? And I think the answer is probably not. They I don't think so. Maybe a little bit, right? Maybe I've influenced them to be better, practicers and more consistent and everything. But I don't think so. I think it's a change in my approach and a perspective and what I'm whenever difficult things come up, I'm like, this is just part of the job. So it doesn't get me
Yeah,
worked up. Don't send off those negative vibes. And
yeah. I was going to say, so you don't find those things as frustrating or as much of a personal attack, which is really
yeah,
easy to. It's really easy to feel like kids aren't practicing. They don't care. I'm doing something wrong. It might be the case, but it's got to be, it's a personal attack on me, which of course isn't the case.
but it sure feels that way sometimes, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Bring your scores to life with Maestria by Music. Maestria is the first optical music recognition technology powered by artificial intelligence. From a simple picture of a paper score, Maestria can create an interactive live score that you can listen to, speed up, slow down, and transpose. Live scores are compatible with music and any music notation software or digital audio workstation. Find out more about Music and Maestria and create your first live score at music.com/Maestria. That's music, NEWZIK.com/MAESTRIA. Music, beyond sheet music. And so you've kind of summarized it already, but in your post you talked about, ultimately you like your students better. You've got a better relationship with them now.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Mm.
And they're playing better. We're performing better. Everything is just totally leveled up.
It's quite a remarkable change. How long ago did you make this shift in your mindset?
Um, Probably about a year ago.
Okay.
About a
So
year.
about a year in, yeah. And I'm wondering too, has this changed your relationship with money as well and the income you're making?
Believe it or not, it really has. I've struggled in the past to take payment. And I know in my head, I know that's ridiculous. This is my income, this is my job. I'm qualified, I can do this. But every time a little kid hands me a check, it's just like, oh, I hate taking money for this. And I don't know why. And this is, it's kind of just this ongoing frustration. And I think it might be, because it's such an artistic thing. And I know a lot of our artists struggle with taking payment for their creativity. And I kind of struggled with that too. But I wasn't expecting this at all. But now when kids hand me money, I'm like, woohoo! Thank you. You are my favorite kid today. And I sit on the lip, and it's turned into just, a party. I just kind of throw happiness at them for giving me money.
I imagine that being able to, do things that some teachers find awkward, like increasing your rates or standing firm on a policy. I think a lot of those challenges stem from this artistic pursuit. It's our passion. It's like, oh, it's okay if you're not quite, because I'm flexible and everything. I imagine now with your new mindset, you'd be like, no, here's the policy, and you owe me some money, etc. Would that be right?
Yes, I think I would stand my ground. And the reason why is because I'm working so hard for this. Like I sweat. I give it everything I've got. And it's different. It's like I'm not in my ivory tower. I am out in the fields and I'm working my heart out. And I think, I deserve to be paid and
Mm.
I deserve to raise my rates. And when you have your rates up high enough, people think, okay, they're a qualified teacher. I'm willing to sacrifice to pay. And so it's just this amazing money is an incredible psychological phenomenon.
We could go into a big conversation about that, I'm sure, as well. I remember reading a book about how, was it Chopin or Liszt? I can't remember one of them. Well, they would ask for the money to be left on their fireplace.
Oh,
I remember there was like a little thing. It was mentioned in a number of their students' letters that we now can read. It's like, I had to leave the money on the sideboard before I left, kind of thing. It was never exchanged in hand to hand,
oh,
kind of thing.
yeah, I've been there.
It was really interesting. I'm sure. I mean, if this was a webinar where we could have other people chime in, I'd be fascinated to hear what people's responses to this are. And please do let us know wherever you're seeing this or hearing it. Jump on social, let us know. One of our team members, Nicole, when you posted this in the forum, she said, she agreed. She said, I found the same when I run my studio like a business, and I expect that not every family will want to do business the way I set it up, and I don't get as frustrated when they choose to walk away. I too stopped getting frustrated about students not practicing because that wasn't my responsibility. It was theirs. I can only control what happens in my studio, not what they do during the week. And I think that's another, I mean, it's slightly different mindset shift, but just that approach of thinking, you can be as passionate and engaged and exciting and motivating in your lessons as you could possibly be, but ultimately it comes down to the student and the parent to do the work.
Absolutely true.
Mm.
For sure.
Rebecca also agreed that this balance in mindset between passion and business as well was vital, and she said, when I'm sitting with that student who is playing the wrong rhythm for the 17th time, or who still doesn't remember the landmark notes, or who, let's be honest, is just not particularly invested in their musical studies, I always think to myself, I'm getting paid for this. And that makes it easier to plaster a smile on my face and explain the concept one more time and still have hope that they're getting something out of their lesson. Maybe not a musical breakthrough, but at least a chance to improve their perseverance and problem solving and logical thinking skills. It's just just fascinating hearing what other teachers think about this approach too. Have you told any other, apart from in our forums, have you spoken to any other teachers about this?
No, I am one of two piano teachers in my town.
Right.
So no, I haven't had this conversation with anybody else outside of the forums.
Mm. Well, one of our other members did chime in. Jeff, he actually disagreed. So I think this is really interesting to bring up. And he said the following, and he allowed me no problem to tell everyone this. He said, "When the thing that I've done for so long and that I believe I do so well feels like it's become just a job, then I question if I really want to even be doing it. I simply cannot take my emotional investment out of each student and each lesson. If I wanted just a job, I'd paint houses, he says. Is, is there anything you would say in response to that? I mean, everyone's got their opinions and they can do things as they wish. Do you feel some of what Jeff's saying in how you were more than a year ago with that deep emotional investment?
Yeah, I loved Jeff's comment. I thought it shed a different light on the whole scenario. And his comment really got me thinking. It seems to me like there's this universal, like a spectrum maybe, or a balance, or kind of a push and pull between like passion and work. And it kind of sounds to me like maybe Jeff was really too mired down in the work side of it, and he needed that passion to kind of revitalize it. And I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was so bogged down in the passion of it all that I really just needed the work to kind of perk me back up and get me going. So just recognizing that there are both, like these two elements, really, they're there and they will not be ignored. And so if you can kind of accept that and then start fine tuning it for yourself, where do you need to be on that work spectrum versus the passion spectrum, and get it to work for you so that you feel revitalized and you feel like you can keep going.
Mm.
One of my favorite comments about all of it, like the staying power, to have the staying power in a job or a career. One of the biggest factors in your staying power with a certain career is your ability to tolerate the negative aspects inherent in that particular career. And I think that's from Thou Shalt Prosper, Daniel Lapine, wonderful book. And so I had like this distorted idea that, my rosy expectations of love and music would transcend all these problems. And it just didn't give me the staying power. And if you can kind of get that balance figured out, then you can get that staying power and make it through all those difficulties that really are inherent in any career, specific to career. But anyways, that I really appreciated Jeff's comment. That was a different angle to come at it from.
And I'm sure others will feel a bit like that, and some will be in the middle. And I'm looking forward to the discussion, hopefully, that can ensue from this conversation, because I think it's really important. And I like that you mentioned that it really is a continuum. There's places on this for everyone, and you don't always have to be stuck at one end. You can move. It can change over time. And I guess it's important to not be ashamed. Perhaps is too strong a word, but worried about that you're losing something by focusing more with a business mindset. It's not about that. Rachel is as passionate in her lessons as she was ever before. She's enjoying it even more than she was before. That hasn't changed. It's just the mindset in your head about the struggles, I guess, right?
Yes.
So look, I'd love to just wrap things up with a few quick questions, which I love to ask members who come on the podcast. So firstly, now it was 3 years ago, but can you remember how you found out about us?
Oh, absolutely. I had taken a long break from teaching piano lessons while we had children and babies and were raising them. So when my last baby had been born, my mind just really started bending towards piano. So I started researching because I really wanted to do a good job of it, and reading business books, and I started looking for a podcast for piano teachers. And I could not find any. There were none out there until one day I came across this piano teachers podcast, and the very first episode had been just barely posted. And the guy had this great Australian accent. We just listened to for hours. So I got that podcast, Tim, every month after month after month. I listened to it and I got all these great ideas. So when I launched, I had 10 times more work for myself with all these great ideas than I could possibly do. So I was there from the first of the podcasts going out.
Wow, that's amazing, Rachel. So I mean that's February 2015 first episode. So that's incredible. How could you describe the transformation that you've enjoyed over those last 3 years since you became a member?
Absolutely. I was very much kind of in the traditional mindset of just kind of being alone, kind of a lone wolf. As a piano teacher, there's very little connection between other piano teachers and other studios, unless you belong to like MTNA or some other, organization. And I hadn't for years. And so I was just kind of on my own. And I loved that the TopMusicPro group, you have just people everywhere, and there is no sense of isolation in that group. you can connect with people that you resonate with, and that everybody has something to say about any question you post. And so that's been a wonderful connection. I think one of my most useful things, one of the most useful resources that I've been implementing is Piano Safari.
Mm-hmm.
They are just off the charts.
So good, isn't it?
Oh, golly, I love them. Every student I get has to do Piano Safari technique. I don't care how many years they've been taking lessons. They all do it. Anyways, I love that. I love Piano Safari.
And Piano Safari is one of our popular discounts in our membership, and we're only adding more and more. I'm actually just talking to some more sheet music publishers actually at the moment for more discounts, because we love giving those away, and everyone loves spending money on sheet music. I know that a lot of teachers as well see the cost of subscriptions and memberships and don't know how they'll afford them sometimes. So how do you justify the investment that you've made?
Well, I knew that I was going to teach piano lessons forever. And I knew that I needed professional development. And because I have a big family, I can't really travel to events and to conferences and things like that. And so I felt like TopMusicPro came to me. I can access everything I need from my living room, from my iPad, anywhere I go. And it's just, for me, it was absolutely worth every penny.
That's great to hear. And last thing, what would you say to someone considering joining? Been on the fence for a little bit, not too sure what to do?
I think I would say, if you want to keep growing and developing, and as a teacher, and you want to have access to the most excellent resources out there and make connections with other people in your boat, definitely join.
Fantastic. Really appreciate connecting with you again, Rachel. Anything else that we should finish up on before we wrap up? I want to quickly find out a little bit about what the future holds for your studio, but is there anything we missed about this transformation that you've had?
No, I think we did a really good job.
Fantastic. Well, as your kids get older, are you looking to, do you think you'll expand again? What's the future hold for your studio?
I don't think I'll be able to help myself. I will definitely. And all the things that I've been holding off while raising our family, definitely going to try that. All the things.
Fantastic.
Yeah, summer camps, and I want to actually start teaching other piano teachers. There's a couple of students of mine who want to get into teaching, so I want to start coaching them to be a teacher and help them get off to a strong start.
You'll do an amazing job at that. I can tell already, Rachel.
Oh, bless.
And so where can people go if they want to connect with you? What's the best place?
When I have a bigger studio and more time, I will get myself a website. I do not have one, and I'm keeping it small on purpose, just because I really can't go beyond the hours in a day.
So, fair enough.
Join TopMusicPro and get in on the forums, and we'll meet you there.
Yeah, well, look, I'm looking forward to hearing how the conversation goes when we post this in the forums as well. And wherever you see this, if it's on social, please feel free to share your comments. What do you think? Are we crazy here? Has Rachel done the right thing, the wrong thing? Give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Rachel, thanks heaps for joining us tonight. I know it's really late at night for you. I really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you were either challenged or excited by that episode. Whatever feeling that you had, as I said at the start, we'd love to hear your comments about it. So if you head to topmusic.co/episode 247, you can grab a full transcript, all our links, but you can also there leave a comment at the bottom of that page. It would be fantastic to read them. Rachel's going to be jumping in and reading those too. If you want to connect with Rachel more directly, then come into our Top Music Pro forums. Just head to topmusicpro.com if you're not yet a member and join us on our studio plan over there. Or you can join us on our light plan as well, which gets you access to our forums. That's just $10 a month. Alternatively, if you're a social media kind of person, head over to Facebook, find our Top Music Teachers group, and tell us about your thoughts on this episode over there. It'd be great to hear from you. Until next week, I'm Tim Topham. You've been listening to the Topcast. I hope it's been helpful for you, and we will speak to you next week. For more information about this episode and to find out how to enhance your own teaching, visit topmusic.co. You'll find everything you need for your studio, from lesson plans to cheat sheets, quick win teaching ideas, and guides on how to build your teaching business. Plus, you'll be connected to a global community of the world's top music teachers. And when you're ready, join hundreds of other teachers around the world by becoming a Top Music Pro member and get access to all our bonus content and flagship courses. And don't forget to follow topmusic.co on social media and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. That's all for today. We'll see you in the studio.